My wife wanted half my money after sleeping with her ex, so I showed her what she'd signed. My wife cheated on me with her ex. Then, when I filed for divorce, she demanded half of everything I'd built. The house, my savings, my business, even the investment account I'd started years before we met. She told me I owed her because she'd supported me through everything. I almost agreed to give her what she wanted. Then, I found an old envelope in my desk, and what was inside completely changed the divorce. My wife Emily and I had been married for 9 years. We didn't have kids. That was probably the one thing we never agreed on. She wanted children eventually. I wasn't sure. Other than that, our marriage looked pretty normal from the outside. We had a nice house. 2 cars. We went on holidays. We had friends over for dinner. Nobody looking at us would have guessed we'd been miserable for almost a year. Emily had become distant. She'd spend hours on her phone. She'd go quiet whenever I entered a room. And she'd started talking about her ex again. His name was Ryan. They'd dated before I met her. I'd always known about him. I just never thought he mattered anymore. Apparently, I was wrong. The first time I realized something was happening was completely stupid. We were sitting in the living room watching TV. Her phone buzzed. She looked at the screen and smiled. Not a normal smile. It was the kind of smile you give someone you're excited to hear from. I asked, "Who is it?" She locked the phone. "No one." I laughed. "Clearly someone. It's just Ryan." I remember looking at her. "Why is Ryan texting you at 10 at night?" She shrugged. "He needed advice." "About what?" "I don't know, his life." I didn't push it. Maybe I should have. Over the next few weeks, Ryan started appearing everywhere. She'd mention him during dinner. She'd tell me something funny he'd said. She'd compare things he'd done with things I'd done. Then one night she said, "Ryan always understood me." I looked at her. "Okay." She immediately got defensive. "I'm not saying you don't. Sounds like you are." She walked away. That was the first time I seriously wondered if she wanted to be with him again. I asked her directly. She said no. She swore there was nothing going on. I believed her. Again. 3 months later, Emily told me she needed to stay at her sister's for a few days. She said we needed space. I didn't argue. I thought maybe the marriage was just going through a rough period. She left on a Thursday. She came back Sunday evening. And something about her was different. She wouldn't look at me. I asked if everything was okay. She said yes. Then she went upstairs. That night, while she was asleep, her phone lit up on the bedside table. I wasn't trying to snoop. I just happened to see the message. It was from Ryan. It said, "I wish you'd stayed." I stared at it. My stomach dropped. I didn't wake her. I didn't ask. I just took a screenshot of the notification. Then I went downstairs and sat at the kitchen table until sunrise. The next morning I confronted her. I put my phone on the table. "Who is Ryan?" She looked at the screenshot. Her face changed. I asked again, "Who is he to you now?" She started crying. That was when I knew. There are certain moments when you don't need someone to confess. Their face does it for them. She eventually admitted she'd slept with him. Not once. Not recently. She said it had happened during those 3 days she'd been away. I asked her if she loved him. She said, "I don't know." That answer hurt more than the cheating. I told her I wanted a divorce. She didn't fight me. She just said, "Fine." 2 weeks later, we met with our lawyers. That's when Emily's attitude changed completely. She wasn't crying anymore. She wasn't apologizing. She had a list. She wanted half the house, half my savings, half my investment account, half of my business. I stared at the list. "Your business?" She nodded. "I supported you when you started it." I almost laughed. My business had started 6 years before we got married. I'd built it from nothing. She had never worked for it. She'd never invested a penny. But apparently she believed she deserved half. I asked her why. She said, "We were married. Everything we built during the marriage is shared." Our lawyer said it wasn't that simple. She became furious. Then she said something I'll never forget. "If you don't give me half, I'll make sure you regret this divorce." I looked at her. For the first time since I'd met her, I wasn't looking at my wife. I was looking at someone trying to take as much as she could from me. That evening, I went through the documents in my home office. Tax returns, business paperwork, bank statements, old contracts. I was looking for anything that could prove when I started the business. Then I found an envelope I'd completely forgotten about. It was from the year before we got married. Inside was an agreement Emily and I had signed. I read it once, then again, and suddenly, her demand for half of everything didn't look nearly as confident as it had that afternoon. Because she'd signed something that could cost her far more than she realized. The agreement was a prenuptial agreement. I had almost forgotten about it. We'd signed it 3 weeks before the wedding. At the time, Emily had actually been the one pushing for it. She'd said she didn't want money to become an issue if we ever divorced. I agreed. It wasn't romantic, but it seemed sensible. We both signed it. We both had lawyers. And then we got married and never talked about it again. Until that night. I took the document to my lawyer the next morning. He read it quietly. Then he looked at me. Did she know this was still valid? I assume so. He shook his head. Don't assume anything. He pointed to one section. The business was clearly listed as separate property. So were the investments I'd owned before the marriage. The house was different. That had been purchased after we married, so that would have to be dealt with separately. But the thing that caught my attention was another clause. Emily had agreed that neither of us could claim an interest in the other's premarital assets. I sat there thinking about her list from the day before. Half my business. Half my investments. She'd been asking for things she had already agreed she couldn't claim. I called her. She answered immediately. Did you talk to your lawyer? Yes. And? I found our prenup. Silence. Then she said, I know about it. Do you? Of course I do. Then why are you asking for half my business? She became defensive. Because things have changed. How? I was your wife for 9 years. That doesn't change what we signed. You think a piece of paper means everything? No. I paused. I think your signature means something. She hung up. That evening she came to the house. She was furious. You've been planning this. I looked at her. Planning what? To leave me with nothing. You cheated on me. So now you're punishing me? No. I pointed toward the folder on the table. I'm following the agreement we both signed. She stared at it. Then she said, I gave up 9 years of my life for you. I almost lost my temper. You gave up 9 years? She didn't answer. You had a home, you had your own career, you traveled, you did whatever you wanted. I supported you. You cheated on me. Her face tightened. So we're just gonna keep talking about that? You're the one who brought up what you gave up. She grabbed her coat. Fine. She walked toward the door. Then turned around. You'll regret being this difficult. I didn't respond. A few days later, her lawyer sent mine another proposal. She wanted a much bigger share of the marital assets. My lawyer rejected it. Then another proposal came. Then another. Each time, the numbers changed. But Emily kept insisting she deserved my business. That part made no sense to me. Until I learned why. Apparently Ryan had told her that if we divorced, she should take me for everything. He'd apparently convinced her that she'd be entitled to half of whatever I owned. She believed him. The same man she'd cheated with was now giving her advice about my money. That was almost funny. Almost. Then something happened that I hadn't expected. Emily asked to meet me alone. I said no. She insisted. Eventually we met at a cafe near our lawyer's office. She looked exhausted. She hadn't slept much. She said, I made a mistake. I asked, which one? She looked at me. Ryan. I said nothing. She continued. He doesn't want a relationship with me. I wasn't surprised. He told me he never promised me anything. I nodded. And now you're divorcing me. Yes. So I'm losing everything. I corrected her. You're not losing everything. She looked down. Feels like it. I didn't feel sorry for her. Not anymore. Then she said something that made me stop. There's something else you don't know. I waited. She took a breath. Ryan didn't just sleep with me. I stared at her. What does that mean? She looked around the cafe before answering. He knew about the prenup. I felt my stomach tighten. How? She didn't answer. I asked again. How would Ryan know what's in our prenup? She looked me directly in the eyes. Then she said, because I showed it to him. I sat back. Why? She started crying. Because he told me I could get around it. And suddenly, the whole thing looked different. This wasn't just a wife trying to get money during a divorce. Someone had been planning something. And I had no idea how far they'd already taken it. I asked her what she meant. She wouldn't answer at first. So I said, Emily, if Ryan knew about the prenup before we even started discussing the divorce, I need to know why. She looked down at the table. Then she finally told me. Ryan had been pushing her to leave me for months. He told her that I was controlling, that I was hiding money, that if she divorced me, she would be entitled to half of everything. And apparently he'd convinced her that the prenup wouldn't matter. I asked, why would he care about how much money you got? She looked at me. Because he wanted me to help him. Help him with what? She hesitated. Then she said, his business. That was the first time the whole thing actually made sense. Ryan had been struggling financially for almost a year. Emily knew. I'd never paid much attention because I wasn't close enough to him anymore. But apparently, he had debts. A lot of them. And he'd been telling Emily that once she got her share of our assets, she could help him. She wasn't just leaving me for him. She was planning a future with him, using money she expected to take from me. I asked her one question. Did you ever love me? She started crying. I did. Then when did that stop? I don't know. You do know. She wiped her eyes. It was a long time ago. I nodded. At least she was finally being honest. I asked her if she had planned the divorce before she slept with him. She said no. Then she corrected herself. Not exactly. What does that mean? She admitted they'd discussed what would happen if I found out. They'd talked about where she'd live, what she'd ask for, what she'd do with the money. They'd even looked at houses in another town. I just sat there. The woman I'd spent 9 years building a life with had already imagined her life without me. And she'd done it with the man she was cheating with. But there was one thing they hadn't counted on. The prenup. My lawyer went through it carefully. Then we looked at every financial document from the marriage. The business was mine. My premarital investments were mine. The house and certain marital savings were different, and Emily was entitled to a share of those. I wasn't trying to leave her homeless. I wasn't trying to take everything. I just wasn't going to hand over things she'd never been entitled to in the first place. When her lawyer realized we had the original agreement and proof that both of us had independent legal advice before signing it, their demands changed immediately. The request for half my business disappeared. So did the demand for half my investments. Suddenly, we were discussing a normal division of marital property. Then, Ryan made a mistake. He called me. I almost didn't answer. But I did. He said, "We need to talk." I asked, "About Emily?" "Yeah." "What about her?" He sighed. "She told you everything?" "Not everything." There was a long silence. Then he said, "Look, I never wanted things to get this bad." I laughed. "You slept with my wife for months." "I know." "You told her she could take half my business." I was trying to help her. "No." I paused. "You were trying to help yourself." He didn't answer. Then he said something that confirmed what I already suspected. "I thought she'd leave you sooner." I felt my stomach turn. "How long had you been planning this?" He said nothing. I didn't need the answer. I hung up. The divorce was finalized about 5 months later. Emily got her share of the marital assets. She didn't get my business. She didn't get my investments. And she didn't get the future she'd imagined with Ryan. Because about a month after the divorce, Ryan disappeared from her life. Apparently, once he realized there wasn't going to be some massive payout, he wasn't nearly as interested anymore. I heard this from a mutual friend. Emily moved into a small apartment. Ryan eventually filed for bankruptcy. I haven't spoken to either of them since. people might think I won. I don't. I lost 9 years of my life believing I was building something with someone who had already checked out. I lost a friend I'd trusted for years. And I had to learn the hard way that someone can sit across from you every night, tell you they love you and still be planning how to leave you. But there is one thing I'm glad I did. I didn't let anger make financial decisions for me. I could have tried to destroy Emily. I could have fought over every penny. Instead, I followed the agreement we'd both signed and let the lawyers handle it. She got what she was legally entitled to. Nothing more. Nothing less. The last time I saw her was outside the courthouse. She stopped me before I got into my car. She said, "I never thought we'd end up like this." I looked at her. Neither did I. Then she asked, "Do you hate me?" I thought about it. No. She looked surprised. "I don't hate you." I paused. "But I'll never trust you again." She nodded. And that was it. I drove away. A few weeks later, I changed the locks on the house. For the first time in years, it was completely quiet. No secret phone calls. No wondering where she was. No pretending everything was fine. I still think about the envelope sometimes. The prenup was just a piece of paper. But that piece of paper didn't save my marriage. It just stopped the person who destroyed it from taking something else I'd spent years building. And honestly, that's enough for me.